Welcome to Capital Dateline Online. I'm with our guest, Jim Saunders, Executive Editor of the News Service of Florida. Well, last week we got the announcement from Congressman Gwen Graham's office that she wasn't going to seek re-election to her newly redrawn seat, but that instead she may be looking at the governor's office.
Well, I think she's somewhat a casualty of the redistricting process that's been going on over the past few years with all these legal fights. She was was elected in 2014 in a very swing district in North Florida. It was a big win for the Democrats, both on the state level and nationally. And then through this redistricting process, they redrew her district and took a lot of Democrats out of that district, made it a Republican stronghold. I think everybody anticipated this announcement that she was not going to run for re-election. The district became so Republican that for any Democrat to win that seat would be very difficult. And for the Democrat, I mean, she was about as good a candidate they were going to get in that seat. And I think she did the math and realized she couldn't win. But what was really interesting, as you alluded to in her announcement that she wasn't going to run, is that she was going to, quote, seriously consider running for governor in 2018. Again, this has been something that's been rumored and speculated for a long time, whether she would run for governor. And she hasn't made the commitment yet, but she's putting it out there, you know, a couple years ahead of time that she's going to consider it. She's Bob Graham's daughter, right. So I mean that gives her entrance into all sorts of places, both on the state level and nationally, to be able to raise money and to be able to talk to people. Bob Graham's one of the most beloved Democratic figures, at least in modern Florida history. Right. He was governor, U.S. senator, so that helps her a lot.
And this could be the first father-daughter governor situation, possibly?
Well, it'd be the first woman, so, from that standpoint.
That's right, the first woman governor.
That would, from that standpoint, I guess it'd be the first father-daughter. But she ran a nearly flawless campaign in 2014. I mean, that district was hard to win back then. She beat an incumbent Republican.
She worked hard.
In a off presidential year, which makes it even harder for Democrats. She ran a very, just impeccable campaign, and she won. She's posed herself as sort of a moderate. She's voted with Republicans on some issues, which has actually drawn scorn from some of the liberal Democratic voters. And she's positioning herself to be able to run. I think, that doesn't necessarily mean that she will win or can win. I mean, the Republicans have held the governor's office since 1998 when Jeb Bush got elected. They dominate state government. Other than Bill Nelson, the Democrats have not won a statewide race since 2006 when Alex Sink won a cabinet race. So, the odds are probably with a Republican holding that just from an organizational standpoint, a money standpoint. But Gwen Graham's tossing it out there that she's going to seriously consider it. On the Republican side, Adam Putnam is pretty much everybody thinks he's going to run for governor. He's the agriculture commissioner. He's already raised, I think, more than $4 million for a political committee that he is aligned with him or linked with him. So, he's certainly laying the groundwork for it. I think everybody thinks he'd be a very formidable candidate if he's the Republican. It's early, though. I mean, there's potentially other candidates on both sides could come out. One name that popped up last week was Senator Jeremy Ring, who's a Democrat, term-limited Democrat out of Broward County. He's a moderate Democrat. He also has Broward County ties, which in Democratic politics is magical.
Yes.
Bob Buckhorn, the Tampa mayor, he's a Democrat. So it's early. But she's putting down a marker that she's going to consider it, and I think at least on the Democratic side, she would be a very formidable primary candidate, and she'd probably be formidable in the general election as well.
So, keeping with the redistricting theme, Corrine Brown lost her case and is now going to be running for her redrawn seat Jacksonville seat.
Well, the Gwen Graham and Corrine Brown issues are interlocked.
Interlocked.
Essentially, because they read throughout this redistricting process, and the end result of it was to redraw Corrine Brown's district from Jacksonville to Orlando, and then in the new shape, it goes from Jacksonville to Gadsden County, west of Tallahassee. As you alluded to, Corrine Brown has been fighting this new district. Her argument has been that it violates the Voting Rights Act because it would make it less likely that black voters would be able to elect a candidate of their choice. But a federal court last week pretty much said, in no uncertain terms, they weren't buying her argument. So she has said that she's going to run in the newly redrawn district, which goes east-west from Jacksonville to Gadsden County and includes parts of the Tallahassee area. She hasn't really, as we sit here today, she has not indicated whether she's going to continue appealing this federal court ruling, but she is clearly saying that she is going to run in that newly redrawn district. Her main opposition at this point is Al Lawson, a former state legislator from Tallahassee. He comes at that district from the opposite end that she does. Her stronghold is in Jacksonville. His stronghold is in the western part of the district, Gadsden, Leon, those sorts of areas, which he represented in the legislature for, I mean, almost 3 decades.
Yes,
he was in the legislature a long time. A lot of roots in the western part of that district. So far on the Democratic side, it's those two that are in the race. We haven't really seen a Republican emerge, but I think that's a pretty good indication that the Democrats are going to be able to hold that seat. And if it's a race between Brown and Lawson, then the issue of whether black voters will be able to elect a candidate of their choice. Both those candidates are African Americans, so we don't know if any other candidates are going to get in the race. But Corrine Brown getting in, or saying she's going to run in that district probably prevents a lot of Jacksonville Democrats from even thinking about getting in. I mean, she has been very successful for a long time, and so I think her announcement kind of will reduce speculation about other candidates getting in on the Democratic side, at least.
Thanks, Jim. For more news about Florida politics and public affairs, visit the Advances section of our website and keep coming back to Capitol Dateline Online for daily postings.